What up, though, beautiful people? It is your boy JB Ricks with my man 100 Grand Nick Moore for the third episode of the Ricks Review podcast. And this one is going to be special because we are dedicating this one to all of the fathers out there. This is going to be my special Father's Day podcast. Both of us coming in as fathers or whatnot, and this is a very special time of the year for us. And, you know, we've been doing this father thing for a long time, so I definitely want to share with the people, you know what I mean, what Father's Day means to us, how special it is to you. You've got a few more years over me than I have or whatnot, but at the same time, man, it's just been an honor and it's been a blessing to, you know what I mean, have my own little man out here or whatever and be able to kind of like teach him the ropes of life or whatever and bring him up. But I definitely want to get to you before we get into all of our sports talk about what Father's Day, you know what I mean, means to you with this being our special episode.
Yeah, hey, first off, thanks for having me back on the Ricks Review. And, you know, Father's Day is, for me, it's a reminder of I'm part of one of the greatest clubs in the world, man, and that's fatherhood. And I'll never forget one of my buddies calling me and saying that to me the first time, you know, my daughter was born. He was like, welcome to the greatest club in the world, right? And that's fatherhood. And, you know, this is an annual reminder of that. But just like you being around your little man every day, me being around my daughter all the time is a constant reminder of that, you know, and, you know, so it's just, hey, it's another day to celebrate, but I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you. I'm pretty sure you like to celebrate every day with your son.
365 days
I'm the same
a year.
way with my daughter, and, you know, it's just a blessing to have her in my life and to be a guide through this world for her.
Yeah, and you know what? We're blessings. We're blessings, and this is the time for us to be celebrated or whatnot because, you know, it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job to go out here and teach our children, you know, how to come up and how to be strong in a world that is just, like, so tough right now. Yeah. And I take it as a privilege. You know, this is definitely something that was I wanted to do growing up. I'm one of these individuals who grew up without a father. So I did have a massive chip on my shoulder. You know, once I finally became an adult, my mom did an amazing job, you know what I mean, raising me and playing both roles or whatnot. But there was no question there were certain things that she couldn't teach me that I needed to be taught by another man. Even though she did everything she could, I still was able to, you know, finagle my way through the world to become the man that I am. So it was very important to me to be able to pass down all of the knowledge that I've been able to gain as a man. And I wanted to pass it down to my next generation. And I'm so grateful and so thankful to God that he blessed me with a baby boy. You know what I mean? So I got my own little junior out here or whatever. And, you know, he's a spitting image of your boy or whatever. He's back here in the background kicking it as usual or whatnot, man. Just following our every move. Your nephew, by the way. So, you know, what fatherhood means to me, man, it's a privilege. It's an honor. And, you know, there's just a lot of fathers out here who don't take advantage of this privilege and this honor. You know, I've heard of, you know, certain stories or whatever of dads out here who live 20, 30 minutes away from their kids and they barely spend any type of time with them, put in the effort and the energy to be that guiding light. I was the polar opposite. I had to spend the first, you know, 7, 8 years of my son's life, you know, 1,000 miles away, you know what I mean, when I was living down in North Carolina. But I still made sure to be a constant presence in his life, whether it was through FaceTime, whether it was through catching these flights to come up here and see him for those 4 days every month or whatever it may have been. The sacrifices that we make, I don't think we get enough credit for them. But you know what? The greatest club in the world, which is what we are in right now, we know what it is. We know what it means to be in that club, and we definitely don't take it for granted. So it's a very special week for me, and I just want to continue to be that blessing to him, be a mentor to these other kids out here who grew up, you know what I mean, in a situation without having a father in their life, man. So,
and speaking of being a special time, it's going to be a very special time this week for somebody in the golf world. Right?
I know you're going to be talking about somebody in particular, but yes, that is definitely why I got my man 100 Grand, you know what I mean, on here. I told you guys he's going to be my golf correspondent this year. My man Nick coming in to share his knowledge or whatever with golf's third major coming up. It is a huge tradition amongst Father's Day. Every year, the U.S. Open takes place on Father's Day weekend, and that's one of my favorite traditions right there. Every Sunday, myself and my son, we are sitting there and we are watching the championship of the Sunday championship of the U.S. Open. And this year, you know, it's going to be another competitive field, but like right now, it's pretty much going to be one guy against the field right now, right?
Oh, yeah. It's Scheffler versus everybody
right
now, right? As well as he's playing, coming off back-to-back wins, you know. one major, and then following that up with the Memorial, which is traditionally, the best of the best are down there competing at the Memorial every year. So yeah, he's riding high right now, and he's the guy to beat, hands down.
Yeah. He's definitely going to be the odds-on favorite to win that after winning the PGA Championship, winning the Memorial for the second year in a row, and he has been considered the number one player in the world for a long time. But Rory got off to such a great start this year, so that's why I thought he was going to be very competitive at the PGA Championship, and I was very disappointed. You know what I mean? His performance at the PGA Championship, I don't even know where he finished at or whatnot. He barely probably even made the cut when you go back and look at the numbers. But I looked up some stats here, man, and they got him as the second one with the highest odds to win it behind Scotty Scheffler or whatnot. And that kind of surprises me right now because I don't feel like he's coming into this tournament with much momentum. What do you think about him having those odds?
I think those odds speak to how great he is, right? Even when he's not in his best form, he's still considered to be one of the best in the game, right? So
yeah, that's true.
And by all intents and purposes, then you got to put him in the top, odds to win because he's just that good. That being said, he's not my favorite to win this week. I would agree more with what you're saying, that he's not in the best of form right now.
Yeah.
And I would be looking at other guys as, better contenders to take this.
Okay, give me some of those names, and I want to see if they match up with the odds that I was able to find off the research I saw. Give me some of the names of the guys you think that can do some damage this week, and then I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to the last time around here. Scheffler, Rory, I would throw in there.
Okay.
DeChambeau.
Okay.
Jon Rahm.
Yeah.
Xander Schauffele. English Harris.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a sleeper right there.
Maybe Cam Smith as another sleeper I would throw in there as well. That young guy has been right there in the heat of things.
Okay.
And he just has that demeanor about his game, which I think is going to be of a necessity in this tournament. Okay.
What about English? What do you like about him?
I mean, when I watch that guy play, I think of the word steady Eddie.
Okay.
He's just steady Eddie, steady as it goes.
Yeah.
He don't make a lot of mistakes, and he's just a real grinder out there in the game. So this is going to be one of those tournaments, as we spoke about last time, where I think the average winning score at Oakmont Country Club is around -4, -5.
Okay.
So this ain't going to be one of those, everybody shooting 7 under on day one kind of tournaments.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised to see that. So, when you're talking about that, you got to talk about a patient player, someone who can handle the ups and downs and continue to push through, and hence your steady Eddie player like English Harris.
Yeah. Okay, English Harris. I like that. I'll give you the odds here. Rory is plus 1,000, and Scheffler is plus 470. It's two, Xander Schauffele and Jon Rahm. Now, if we're going Scheffler against the field, I think I like those two names the most, who I would probably take going against the field or whatnot. Like I said, Rory, I feel like he's kind of struggling going into this tournament. I'm surprised to see him with the second highest odds. But Xander Schauffele is one of those other steady Eddie guys out there. And Jon Rahm, when he gets into his flow, when he gets into his rhythm, man, he is daggone, you know what I mean, unbeatable. You know what I mean? So I could definitely see him and Scheffler kind of going at it, going into the weekend or whatnot. Your boy though, Ludvig Åberg. He's got some good odds going into this as well. And then obviously you got Bryson DeChambeau, but Ludvig definitely jumped off of the map to me when I saw him at plus 1,500. But I'm still think Xander and Jon Rahm could definitely make some noise, and I would take them probably against Scheffler if I'm going, Scheffler against the field or whatnot. But at the end of the day, man, I'm sticking with Scheffler. I'm sticking with the hot hand. If I'm putting money down in Vegas, man, I'm sticking with Scheffler. And, you talked about him going into the PGA Championship, too. Yeah. What did you see from that PGA Championship, the way he was able to perform, in that tournament that, makes you realize that, hey, he is the reason why he should have the highest odds going into this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, the guy is just, he's an uber competitor from what I see out there, Like, he can hit a bad shot, he can find himself in a bad situation, but he's so competitive, that he just sticks with it and grinds through and finds a way to, make shots happen. And he's such a great shot maker. I think it was on that back nine. I can't remember what hole exactly, but maybe the 16th or 15th hole, he hit an incredible shot, and that just kind of like took the air out of the golf course, right? And he just has that capability. So, Yeah, I wouldn't bet against the guy right now.
So there you have it. We both are in agreement that Scottie Scheffler is going to be the golfer to beat at this year's U.S. Open. I can't wait. Like I said, a great Father's Day tradition to watch the U.S. Open, and it's going to be a good one this year as well. But you know what? Let's go ahead and transition to some other championships that are being decided now that we are in the month of June. And, of course, the NBA Finals has gotten underway. But before we get to all of that smoke, let's go ahead and talk about the firing that took place in New York after the Eastern Conference Finals was won by the Indiana Pacers. The New York Knickerbockers. Like, what's going on, man? They went out here and fired their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, who had taken them all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in like 25 years, 25, 26 years or whatnot. And they decided to fire him after having such a great season. And here's a funny stat I want to throw at you before we get into it or whatever. But he had 25 playoff wins compared to like 0 from all the other coaches that came before him with the Knicks. And they decided to fire this guy after taking them to the Eastern Conference Finals. What is going on here, Nick? What are your thoughts on that?
I think you just spelled it out perfectly. What is going on? Because apparently historical facts don't matter, right? This guy has won more playoff victories for you than anybody, and you're still going to cut him loose? Not to mention all your – I can't say all your top players, but I know Cat loves him, right? Cat put out a message right away after he got fired. I'm not really sure what his relationship was like with Brunson.
It was good. He had a great relationship with Brunson.
But the long story short is he's gotten you the closest to an NBA final out of anybody in the last how many years? And then you cut him loose right away. Yeah. So I don't understand that. You know,
nobody does.
I always think there's a process to any championship building, and you know that could have been the first step in the process for them. But now I feel like you might have set yourself back a little bit by letting go of one of the major pieces. So I don't know what they're doing.
They most definitely set themselves.
I'm just happy I'm not a Knicks fan.
Word to your mother on that one. And there's no question they're setting themselves back, because if they have somebody in mind that they wanted to replace Tibbs with, that dude would have coming in the same week of, you know what I mean, him being fired. Right. But here's what I found really, really funny and interesting about the whole scenario, how it all played out.
Hold on, stop. Let me guess. Was it Metta World Peace putting his name in the hat? Because I saw that and I was like, what?
I wish Metta World Peace would, man. Didn't he go back to Ron Artest, by the way? I think he went back to Ron Artest, man.
I don't know.
I know one thing. His name does not need to be in the hat to be the head coaching there. So let me just go ahead and put that out there right now. But what I found to be very funny and interesting was a lot of the blame after they lost that game 6 to the Pacers. A lot of the blame was on Cat, Karl Anthony Towns and whatnot. It was all over social media how they were saying a lot of the players are pointing the finger at Cat because he couldn't get it right when it came to his defensive assignments. He was getting a lot of criticism. I mean, he's never been known to be a defensive player. So let's just go ahead and put that out there right now. So Tibbs, he is known to be a defensive coach. And a lot of the blame was being put on Cat for not being able to be in his spots, be where he was supposed to be when it came to their defensive assignments or whatever the system that may be out there for Tibbs. So you know Cat is going to be one of your top players, Brunson and Cat, probably their 2 highest players right there or whatever. Right. But it's always been a players' league, and this is even more proof that it's still a players' league, because when everything came out the day after they lost, it was all geared towards Cat. But no, somebody's going to take the hit, and you think they're going to let it be one of the players? No. That's why they had to go off and fire Tibbs, who got you to a place that you hadn't been to in a quarter of a century. So that's what I see out of the whole situation. It looks like Cat is the one to blame for, you know, when it comes to defensive assignments and, you know, whoever you want to throw under the bus. The players were putting it on a Cat out there. But when it came down to the front office, James Dolan, I don't know what you're doing once again. You decided to get rid of the coach that got you to the Eastern Conference Finals, man. I mean, you're a professional basketball player. Like, why is it like that in the NBA, man? I mean, is it because of the money?
It's like that because somebody has to take the blame, right? When things don't go the way you want them to, or something has to change, right? And in this day and age, like you said, it's a players' league. Fans come to that arena to buy Cat's jersey, not Thibodeau's jersey.
That's true.
And so at the end of the day, you make some business decisions sometimes that don't make sense to fans of the game, but fans of the business, sometimes it makes more sense, right? So who knows? Maybe it was one of those situations. We'll see. All I know is thank you for helping out the Pistons in the Eastern Conference next year because I appreciate that. Cause, without Tibbs, I think we'll be a little bit better.
Exactly. And if you really think about it, man, when it comes to that series between the Knicks and the Pacers, let's go back to that game one. Let's go back to that game one where they blew that massive lead and Indiana came back and tied it up off of that miracle shot by Tyrese Halliburton and sent it into overtime, and they ended up losing that. And that's why I say I feel like game one is just as important as game sevens in 7-game series because 100%. Game ones, you are setting the tone of what that series is going to be. And that was so deflating, you know what I mean, for the Knicks players, coaches, and the fans, for them to lose that game. And maybe that had an effect on the overall conclusion of that series. But you go back to that. Who's to blame for that? Who's to blame for that loss? Was it Cat and his defensive assignments, or was it Thibodeau maybe not making the right calls? Whatever the case may have been.
This reminds me, because thinking back on that game one, it reminds me of one of my favorite comments I used to love to say on the court myself or in an open gym.
Okay.
Guy guarding you real hard, yada, yada, doing his best to stop you, and you still make a shot on him. Great D, better O.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, Indiana hit some amazing shots down the stretch.
Naismith
went
crazy.
Hit how many? Eight
three-pointers.
But how many in the fourth quarter?
Eight three-pointers in that final.
Yeah,
yes,
I didn't even realize it was 8. I thought he had like 4 or 5.
Nah, he brought him back.
But that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? So for as great as D that you play against that, if a guy's on fire like that, that's hard to stop.
Better offense.
Better offense.
Better offense.
You know, the greatest defensive players have fallen victim to even better offense.
Yeah,
right?
and again, it's clear as day that they did not have an immediate backup plan to replace Thibodeau right off the bat.
No,
we'll see.
Nor should they? They should take their time, make a
They shouldn't have fired him in the first place.
Find the best coach. Some of the guys they're talking about bringing in, I don't know how it makes them better. It just seems like a little bit more of the NBA coaching carousel going around, but. We'll see what happens.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the Knicks. I know I got a lot of friends who are Knicks fans, so they're still going through the depression stage right now, dealing with what's going on right there. My man Darius in the background, he know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to him right now. But
Good luck in the lottery next
the Knicks have an outstanding roster, man, and you know what I mean. If you win that game one or whatever, we're probably talking about them in the NBA Finals rather than these Indiana Pacers. And let's go ahead and transition into the NBA Finals, which has gotten underway the month of June. Man, I just love this month, you know what I mean, with the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Don't sleep on that hockey, baby, man. That's a great series going on between Edmonton and Florida right now, the defending champs there. But when it comes to exactly. When it comes to the NBA Finals, though, man, I love this matchup. I love this matchup between OKC and the Pacers. You got two of the youngest superstar guards in this game right now between SGA and obviously Halliburton. But Siakam came through and won the Larry Bird Trophy as the Eastern Conference MVP. He won by 1 vote over Tyrese Halliburton, but it was well-deserved, though.
Yeah.
He was a baller in that series or whatnot.
Always a baller. Sometimes a slept-on baller. Just because he goes about his work in such a quiet way sometimes. That, you look down at the stat sheet, you're like, whoa, that dude, I didn't even realize he was out there, but he just killed us, right? He's that kind of a guy sometimes. And then other times he's right in your face, right? But, with as well as Halliburton's been playing and, the support they're getting out of some of those other wing guys, Mathurin, Naismith that we were just talking about, I like what Indianapolis has got going on. I like Indianapolis team. They're tough-minded. They're up and down. But OKC is just, they're hard to go
Speak on it.
Against.
Speak on it, baby. We keep it 1,000 here on this Rich Review podcast.
They got the number 1 D, in the NBA, and it's hard to go against the number 1 D. Right?
Yeah.
They're number 1 D for a reason, and they've proven it throughout the entirety of the year.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, you got one of the most efficient, guards in the game right now, and SGA gets anywhere on the court he wants, and it's just kind of hard to stop him, right? You know, so it's going to be a great matchup, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this is going to play out as well. Going back to SGA, he has just had a phenomenal year, man, and when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty, I just feel like OKC has the better roster. They proved that throughout the regular season, like you said. They've proven that by getting themselves to the NBA Finals. But when it comes to choosing between our head and our heart, we kind of talked about this before we hit the play button on this. OKC, I picked them in 6. You know what I mean? Before the series began, I did pick OKC to win it in 6 because I just feel like they have the overall better roster. But your heart, man, how can you not root for what these Indiana Pacers have done and for them to get to this point? And you know what? I would just love to see Indiana get a championship and hand the trophy to Reggie Miller at the end of the day.
What about this? What if the player rated the most overrated player in the NBA turned out to be the NBA Finals MVP?
Yeah. How can you root against that?
Story happened?
How can you root against that?
That would be outrageous, and I think every dude that voted him the most overrated player got to step up and own it. Right?
Yeah, step up and own it and eat that crow.
NBA Finals MVP.
And where you at? Where you at? You know what I mean? You at the couch watching it just like us.
Right.
You know what I mean? You at the couch sitting back.
With us.
Exactly. There's so many storylines that could play out once this series finally comes to an end. But that's the number one storyline that I think that would just be. It would have Hollywood written all over it.
As you speak about Hollywood, one other storyline I've thought about in this NBA Finals is how about the fact that it's 2 of the smallest markets in the NBA. And what do you think on a scale of 1 to 10? How happy do you think the NBA is with the 2 smallest market teams being in the NBA Final?
They're probably not happy, but at the end of the day, when the final ratings come out, there's so many people who are going to want to watch SGA. There's so many people who are going to want to watch Tyrese Halliburton with the run that he's having right now. Yes, these are small market teams, but it's still the NBA Finals here in 2025, and you just have 2 of the most exciting players going up against each other. And let's be real, man, OKC is fun to watch.
They are, but what I'm actually referring to is viewership, I guess, right? We all know what the viewership level is on the East Coast in New York and what it is out in LA. And
you can't compare.
With either one of those markets not in the mix, is viewership going to be up? Is it going to be down? I'm interested to see what that looks like after the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
I'm always going to watch because I'm a basketball junkie and I just love the game.
No.
But I know that's something that's talked about in the basketball world, when it comes to are they trying to put certain teams in the final? Or are they trying to make sure certain teams get there?
I don't never give in to that, man. I hear that stuff all the time. The only time I give in to that stuff, and if we really want to have a therapeutic discussion about it, is the NBA lottery. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I totally think that's rigged. I definitely think the NBA lottery is rigged when they do that every year because they do want certain players to be in certain markets, man. And there's proof of it throughout all these. LeBron James is the number one guy out there or whatever, and how he ended up in Cleveland.
I'll leave my statement at this. They are legally entertainment businesses.
Yes.
So
yes.
Leave it at that.
Yes. But I think this series that we have right now between OKC and Indiana, this is not something that the NBA circles, the NBA heads would want. You know what I mean? From a financial standpoint, from a viewership standpoint, because you can't compare, any matchup going up against, a New York team or an LA team. There's just no comparison there. But for 2 of the smaller market teams to get here, they earned it. Yeah. Both teams earned it.
That's the beauty of it.
They were able to. Indiana came and stole that. In my opinion, they stole that series from New York because New York had that game 1 in the bag, and if they win it, I think they go on to win the series. But they stole that from them. Tyrese Halliburton is out here to prove to everybody, I'm not overrated. Y'all can call me overrated all you want, but while you're calling me overrated, continue to watch me play as I go after this championship right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, from beginning to end, his consistency and his ability to, score and lead his team and make his teammates better has been evident throughout the entire season, and now it's on that world stage now that they're in the NBA Finals, and it's just a beautiful story to watch for both of these franchises, and this is something, the NBA, you can try to finagle it all you want or whatever and rig this and rig that, but it wasn't happening. Both of these teams were not going to be denied getting to this point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
they did that.
It's a beautiful thing. Outside of SGA and Halliburton.
I'm excited for the Naismith SGA matchup.
Okay.
Because the way Naismith guarded Brunson in that last round, was very impressive. Like the way he was fighting over screens, staying in them, I thought that was very much the kind of defense he's going to have to play against SGA to make it long nights. Now, in my opinion, when you're talking about players of this skill level, especially on the offensive side, it's not about keeping them scoreless, because that ain't never going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just about making it a tough night on them and making it every bucket a challenge, right? They're going to score, they 20, 30, because that's what they do, right? They that skilled and talented. But if it's a tough 20 or 30, that's a different story, right? So I'm interested to see that matchup. I think if Naismith can defend well against SGA, it could be a very interesting one.
And let's not forget about the momentum that Pascal Siakam is bringing into the NBA Finals. Obviously, a couple games into this thing, he's the only one that has the NBA Finals experience. You know what I mean? So he's not afraid, and he's proven that. By winning the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, he scored 31 in the game, the series clinching victory or whatnot. And his ISO game is so good, man. That's something else that I'm enjoying about this series. Watching Siakam play on this stage and because he was kind of in the shadow of Kawhi on that 2019 team that won the championship in Toronto. He was kind of in that shadow. He's a little bit in the shadow of Tyrese Halliburton, but he's still the one who came away with the Larry Bird Trophy. So, that kind of oversees that, as far as him being in the shadow anymore. We know he's a legit player. So I'm going to continue to enjoy, what he can bring with his ISO game. I want to see Chet Holmgren, though. I want to see Chet Holmgren step up and give me 20 and 10 every single night. You know what I mean? Every single one of these games,
Chet's a dynamic player.
Very.
He could definitely do it. It'll be an interesting matchup because I think who's the big man for Indiana? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Miles Turner?
Miles Turner,
yes.
Yeah. Miles Turner, I think, does a decent job of getting out and defending on the wing because he pops out himself and shoots, right? So that'll be a very interesting matchup to see how those two, if they cancel each other out, basically, or, who gets the better of that matchup. But definitely one to keep your eye out on. And Chet, Chet ain't too much he can't do, right?
Exactly.
He's shooting a long ball. He goes over the right shoulder.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun, man. It'll be real fun.
Well, it's definitely a new day. You know what I mean? However this series ends up turning out, it's clearly a new day in the NBA. The young guns are here to ball now. No LeBron, no Steph. You know what I mean? No James Harden. None of those old head names. They're not in the NBA Finals. It is a new day. It's a new wave coming in of NBA talent, and these two teams have some of the greatest young talent in the league, and I just can't wait to see where this league goes forward from here, because I'm enjoying watching this young talent develop and be on the level that they're at right now, and I hope to see more of it moving forward. I don't think this MVP that SGA won is the last. You know what I mean? I think it's the first of multiple for him. Tyrese proving to everybody he's not an overrated player. He's going to continue his progression, you know what I mean, going into the next season, and it's going to be a great story no matter who ends up winning this NBA Finals, man. So I can't wait to see how it all turns out, man. And I also can't wait to see what's going to happen with this U.S. Open, man. And I can't wait to see how you and I continue to develop as the fathers that we are to our children, man. So I love it. I love you, brother. I appreciate you. Happy Father's Day to you. Likewise. Happy Father's Day to all of the Father's Day out there. We appreciate you joining us for this Father's Day episode of the Rick's Review podcast. You guys know what it is. Food Folks Fun on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. You can catch the entirety of this podcast on the Food Folks Fun YouTube page, and you can also find it on my Rick's Review Facebook page as well. We'll have that dropping soon with so much more material. So, we're on all the social medias as well. TikTok, Instagram, at Rick's Review, Food Folks Fun 3, everywhere, folks. Just go ahead and type it in the search, and we'll come right up, and we're going to continue to hit you with this development, this content developing each and every week here on our system. So thank you again. Happy Father's Day to you all. We appreciate you for tuning in. We'll be back for another Rick's Review podcast in the near future.